You know, chipping doesn't have to be that hard. In these next 3 videos, I'm going to share with you some of the real secrets to making chipping easy. People have told me time and time again this has helped them tremendously on their short game, and I can't wait to share it with you. Let's go and get started. All right, in today's video, I'm going to share with you some absolute secrets on pitching it like a pro. Now, I'm not talking about pitching it okay or decent or pretty good. I'm talking about absolutely being a magician around the greens and being able to feel like you can set up over a shot like this and hit every single one of them with spin close to the hole, to almost feel like you could just toss it up there within tap-in range every single time. It can be that easy. I'm on a fairly tight lie here. Some people might get nervous on this. This isn't really long, fluffy grass. You'll see all these are coming out clean, and I'm just chopping them right up there by the hole. It can be easy once you learn the right technique. Now, there's a couple things I'm going to go over in this video. I'm going to go over what I call the front shoulder pivot, and we're going to talk about how to get absolutely laser dialed in on your low point. You notice all those look like I was barely just brushing the grass, and I had an open space 60-degree wedge, but they're coming out low with a lot of spin. I want to share with you the secrets on how to make that happen. Let's go and get started. All right, so let's jump into the details on this. I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece. Now, as I started diving more and more into short game and really trying to master it myself, I realized it is extremely frustrating because there's so many different styles. You see some people saying to lock the hips in the lower body and use more of an upper body, like a putting type stroke. You see some people talking about rotating the body. Some people are going to tell you that you need to have a little more of a cut swing. Some people are going to tell you you need a little bit more of a draw swing. Play it off the toe, play it off the center, have the hands low, have the hands high. You're hearing all this different stuff. And I'm not saying that a lot of that doesn't work. And really, I think you can do a lot of different styles and make it work. I'm going to share with you the style that I have found works the best, and I'm going to break it down for you piece by piece, and I'm going to give you some drills that are going to seem a little counterintuitive, honestly. But once you try those out, you're going to see the results firsthand. You're going to see me hit some great shots here, and I know if you follow this, you're going to have a lot of success with it. So this isn't the only style that works, but this is a style that if you practice this, you do the drills that I'm going to give you here, make sure you bookmark this because you're going to want to refer to it because you're going to be chipping and pitching it awesome when you're doing this. So first off, I want my feet very close together. If my feet are farther apart and I'm using a kind of locked lower body style where I let my upper body do most of the work, I do not like that at all. And the reason is once you get a little farther away from the green like this, then locking your lower body, you really have to use so much upper body and hands and arms, like you really start to jab at it. It can be not that good once you get farther away. Now, if I have a little 10, 12 foot putt or a 10 or 12 foot chip, that can work perfectly fine. But as I get a little bit more distance, I want to go ahead and let that body rotate. I want my knees really close together. I want my feet really close together. I like to have my stance a little bit open as I go over here in a second, but I want them close together. That way I can pivot and rotate back and through, just as I was going to toss a golf ball up to the hole. So that's the first piece. I almost feel like your heels are within 2 or 3 inches of each other would be really good on a shot like this. And I really want my body to rotate back and through so that it's creating a momentum. And that's what we'll go over. A common theme in all this is that you want to have a momentum to your body and let it go back and through rather than trying to get jerky or jabby. Number 2, I want to have the face a little bit open. Simply for this, it gives me a little bit more margin for error for a couple reasons. As I open the face, this flange on the bottom of the club starts to get exposed and it helps it glide through the turf, which means less chunking and less thinning. It also allows me to get a little more forward shaft lean without de-lofting the club too much. So here I have a 60-degree wedge. I'm going to open the face a little. That probably turns it to, let's say, 65 degrees, something like that. And then I'm going to lean the shaft forward a little bit, which turns it back to its, a little less than 60 degrees at address. So that way my hands can be leaning in front. My hands can be leading the way as I make contact to this, which will make the contact more consistent, and I'll still have enough loft there to generate some spin. So here, a little bit open, the hands are leading the way, and again, I'm rotating my body every single time, getting that nice clean contact, even made one. All right, so this is gonna be pretty good. I feel like this is gonna be a nice video where everything's gonna start to come together from you. So we're off on a good start here, feet close together, body rotating. play the face a little bit open, play the hands a little bit up. Here's the part that is the most important of any of it. It's contact. You'll notice when I'm hitting these shots that I'm brushing the turf. I'm not digging down into it. So I'm not playing my hands forward with this late leading edge square and hitting down into that where I'm really chopping down into the ground. If I do that, I could start to lay the sod over it. I could start to chunk some and thin some. So we definitely don't want that to happen because we're going to be inconsistent if we start to hit down into the ground too much. I'm also letting the momentum dictate my low point. So as I swing back and through here, as I go back and through, I'm feeling like, almost like I could take two fingers and just barely kind of let the momentum of the club swing as I let it fall out of my hands. That's how loose I'm holding it here, but let the momentum of this club swing and I could brush the turf. So I'm actually gonna do that. I'm gonna open the face slightly, I'm gonna let my body pivot, and I'm just gonna take a couple fingers here in my left hand, and I'm gonna feel like I just brush the ground. That's the feeling that I wanna have to create that. So the reason the ball is coming out low is not because I'm de-lofting the club. The reason the ball is coming out low is because I do have a little forward shaft lean, but I'm hitting it so clean. What's happening is this club face is grabbing the ball. There's a lot of friction there. And because I'm hitting down on it slightly or level with the ground, that ball is grabbing the club face and coming out lower. It's not the loft on the club that's making that go fairly low. And on this one, I'm actually going to play the face open again. You'll see this by looking at my club face. It's fairly open. And I'm going to try to hit one really low just with a lot of really good friction. There you go. You see that never got much higher than pin high. I hit it a little hard trying to get more spin on it. And you'll see that it checked up. Almost landed to the hole and only rolled out 5 or 6 feet. Same thing there. Not really getting much above pin high. And you can see those checking up right by the flag. So the only way that can happen is getting good friction on there. The only way that you can get good friction is really control your low point by letting the club momentum dictate where you ground out. And you can see that one was nice and low there too. Let me hit one more, and then I'm gonna show you the best drill to get the feel of this momentum for yourself and to really dial in on how I can come down and make the cleanest contact possible every time. So let's jump up on the green. I'm gonna show you a drill that works great for this. All right, now here's the part that I warned you about that's gonna seem a little bit odd. So I'm here on the putting green. They just recently aerified the green. So I wouldn't recommend doing this on the course like I am today, but the green's a little bit rough anyways. I do this on the chipping green. Find right by the edge of the green where you're not really gonna mess anything up, even if you take a little bit of a divot as you're first learning this. But after you've done it a while, I'm telling you, you're gonna get just so precise, laser-like precision on your low point. I'm gonna show you exactly how to do that. So what we're trying to be able to do here, if you're gonna be a fantastic pitcher and chipper of the golf ball, is I have to be able to control when my club comes down. I need to be able to have it hit the ground in the same spot every single time and at the same depth. So you can see I'm swinging hard enough there to where I'm actually roughing up. I'm getting a little bit of a smack. You can see some sand kind of popping up as I'm doing that. And because my club face is a little open, it's just the bounce of the club is kind of skipping on the turf. It's not that leading edge. If you expose that leading edge, you're gonna have difficulty digging into the ground. So if I expose that leading edge, I can hit a little too far down, chunk it, and it pops up. I can hit it a little thin and it shoots across the green. If I have the face a little bit open like this, I can still get a little forward shaft lean, and that leading edge just isn't quite exposed there. I'm never gonna dig. You can see I've hit this ground 10, 15 times, and I'm not digging down there. Now there's a difference here in how you've probably seen people say that before, and you probably think, well, you know, Clay, I would just do that. If I could control it like that, I'd just do it. I'm gonna show you the technique that makes that possible. What you wanna do is almost feel like you focus on your left shoulder, almost feel like you have a little reverse pivot. So as I come back, I'm almost leaning left as I'm going my backswing. I'm gonna exaggerate so you can see that, and then you'll notice I'm doing that a very small amount in my normal swing. So here I'm leaning left, and then as I come through, I'm falling a little bit back, and as I fall back, my hips extend, so I'm not doing this. That's the death move. I'm keeping my chest down. That's the death move for chipping. I'm doing this. I'm leaning left, And as I fall back, now my body's moving back, my hips are moving forward. My hips are toward the target because I've rotated. And because I'm falling back a little bit, that controls my club from digging in the ground. I can feel like I'm throwing this thing in the ground as hard as I want to, but as long as I come back this way, what happens is that left shoulder rises, and I feel like I couldn't chunk this thing if I wanted to, because as I fall this way, it just levels it out. It's like taking this club. Imagine I was going to drop it into the ground like this. So I have the club here, and I'm just going to let this thing fall into the turf. But what happens when I lift my hand up? Right as my hand starts to turn back up, it levels it out like a plane coming into a runway. It comes down, it levels out, and it's going to come back up if it wants to. Same thing's happening here. I'm letting the momentum of the club swing, and I'm letting the pivot of my left shoulder and my body make sure that that never digs down in the turf. That's why I can take just with one hand. I'll move this ball so you can see. I could take just with one hand, and I could just brush the turf there every single time. It's not like I'm some fantastic athlete. I'm just using the momentum of the club and the pivot of my body to control that low point. So what I'm feeling there, little forward shaft lean, I'm leaning this way, my left shoulder's coming down. I'm exaggerating here on that. You'll see me doing it more to a smaller degree in the real one. And then as I come through, my shoulder leans back, and that keeps me from digging. That's how you can get this low point control really, really good. And eventually what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to hit these golf balls off this green and feel like we're never going to take a divot. I hit that one about 30 feet in the air. I'm never going to take a divot. I'm never going to dig. And I could just sit in here and hit them all day. So I've hit 2 in a row. Both of those flew at least 30 feet. They ended up almost 50 feet from me. And I didn't dig anything into the ground. I still hit the turf. I still brushed the grass a little bit. But you can look on the camera, you see there's no digging. I'm not roughing up that turf at all. So I'm making really nice, clean contact. Now I'm going a little farther. That one flew about 50 feet in the air. And I'm gonna go even farther than that here and make a little harder swing just to show you can ramp this up and go faster and faster once you get it down. And that's about the max I can do. That's about a 70-footer. That was just a little tiny bit thin there, but even for this drill, that would be pushing it. So I really just want to do this, feeling that momentum of the club, and just practice by hitting little 5 and 10 foot chips like that. Now here's the way you get your precision in on it. What's going to happen is if you go straight to the turf, you're going to get a little bit nervous. You're going to feel like you don't want to dig down in there, and you're going to pick it up. Or you're not going to have that pivot down yet, and it's going to want to dig on you. You're going to chunk it one time, and you're going to want to quit this drill. Here's how you want to start with a bucket of sand. And I'll be honest with you, most people aren't going to do what I say here. And most people aren't going to get the success that you get if you do what I say here. But if you take the time to do this every day, or at least 7 times, I would say, here's how it's going to happen. The first time you do this drill, you're going to think, daggone it, this is impossible. I'm never going to get this. This is so hard. I don't know what Clay's talking about. I can't feel the pivot. I can't feel my left shoulder. I can't feel the momentum of the club. It's really, really tough. The second time you do this drill, you're going to think, man, that was hard, but oh, that one I actually hit pretty decent. By the third time you do this drill, and the fourth and the fifth, it's going to start to feel pretty good. By the 6th and 7th time, it's going to feel just completely natural, like you can just brush this turf every single time. It's not going to be that hard for you. But if you quit after the first one, you're never going to get to the good stuff. So here's what I want to feel. Again, it's like if this club was going to fall down in the ground, I'm lifting my hands up to keep it from digging there. I'm doing that by letting my shoulder come down. And you watch a lot of great pictures of the golf ball. They're going to look like they're leaning a little left, and then as they come through, they're falling back this way, away from the target. So I'm going to set up a little pile of sand about 1 inch tall here. And what I want to do is I just want to clip the very top portion of that sand. So I've hit that sand now, and I've made 2 swings. I barely touched it that time. 3 swings, I'm just clipping little grains of sand off there. I missed it that time. But I'm going to keep on going, and I'm just going to fast forward here until all this sand's gone. Right, and I've rushed it now down to where all the sand pile's gone and there's nothing left. I'm going to see how many strikes I can make with 1 inch tall pile of sand until I get down to the bottom. And if I can get 4, 5, or 6 little swipes where I just take a little bit of sand off and a little bit more sand off, a little bit more sand off, then I'm really controlling the low point. Now, you don't have to do that very much. 15, 20 swings, and you'll be surprised how much better of a feel you have for this. And again, 2, 3, 4 days in a row, and now all of a sudden you have a really good feel to where you can just kind of pick it every single time. Now, how often do you find yourself about 80 yards out, you hit that wedge, and either you scull it over the green, or the ball just rolls straight up the club face like that one, and it comes up well short of the green. Now, the first key here is that we have to get the hands in front. Now, when I lean my hands in front, what that's doing is it's taking loft off the club, and it's making it really easy for me to make consistent contact with this golf ball. So if you can imagine, if the shaft is straight up and down, it adds loft to this face. It doesn't matter which wedge you're hitting. And what ends up happening is as you get to a certain amount of loft, especially with the wedges, if you add a little bit too much, now instead of that ball grabbing the face and taking off, and it being able to catch it and make spin, it slides across the face and it floats up into the air and it doesn't go anywhere. So regardless of the wedge, your hands have to be leaning forward a lot. The pros are actually leaning their wedges forward almost 15 degrees of shaft lean, so that wedge is well in front. I'm gonna feel like my weight is on my left side. I'm gonna feel like my hands are in front of my left foot when I'm making contact here, and that's gonna allow me to really hit this ball nice and clean. Let's go ahead and give it a whirl. There we go. Hit that one nice and solid. Just an easy shot. And even though I didn't really hit that one great as far as I came down into the ground a little bit more than I would have liked, it came out really clean. Now the key with this, if I want to get the hands forward, I can't push the hands across the body. You'll notice here how my hands get in front of my belt buckle, and that's really never going to work. As you start to swing with some speed, because your body's opening up from the top, your arms will never be able to get very much in front of the center of your belt buckle here. So how do we get the club in front if we don't push our hands forward? Well, we actually rotate into our arms. Let me show you what I mean by this. I'm going to set up with my left hand on the club and just a little bit of forward shaft lean, whatever feels comfortable to me here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my shirt buttons into my left arm. So I'm feeling like I'm turning my chest into that arm, I'm turning my hips into that arm, and I'm letting my right foot come slightly off the turf when I do that. Now that's going to push my hands even farther forward, and that's going to get me into that position you're seeing the pros get in. The hips are open, the body's rotating through, the left arm is connected to the chest, and now you're in this great position of impact. So I'm going to feel that, and then I'm going to go to my normal setup, and then I'm going to try to recreate that same impact position, that same feeling through impact. There you go, and you can see that one is really nice and clean. I feel like I'm barely just swinging. It's easily getting there, and the compression is good. It's not sliding up the face, it's not sculling across the green. Now the next one is one of the best ones, because when you stand up and flip like most players are doing, so I'll lose my posture, I flip at it, my hips are going to be pretty square at impact. So I'm used to swinging, or you're used to swinging square to the hips. So if the hips are going forward and you're swinging forward, these have a square relationship to each other. Now, if we're doing this correctly, if you were to swing square to the hips, and now I'm going to rotate into that shot like I talked about, all of a sudden my hips are going over here, I would be swinging this direction if I kept everything the same. I want to be swinging toward the target. So almost imagine like I'm opening up and tossing this golf ball toward the target there. Now in relationship to my hips, now I'm swinging this way. I'm swinging 45 degrees out to the right. So I really feel like in relationship to my body, I'm swinging way over here. And it's that opening into the shot that gets that to square up. So you're gonna feel like, if you're struggling with these wedge shots and you're struggling compressing it, you're gonna feel like you're swinging that way. You gotta really trust me on this, but I'm telling you, it'll change your game. You feel like you're swinging that way, and then as you rotate into it, that's what's gonna allow it to square up. Yeah, really good and tight on that one. I actually caught that one too good, but that's gonna have some nice spin on it. Just a little long and left. You can see it started to spin back down the hill. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it probably spun back 10 feet with just a really nice, easy swing. Another common mistake is trying to kind of lift the ball up into the air. When I do that, when I have a feeling that I want to hit my wedges high, like you hear a lot of players doing, then again, that's going to get into that flip, adding loft the ball rolls up the face. It's really not very good. A great visual for this is imagine driving a nail. I have this giant nail that I put through this golf ball, and what I imagine here as I'm hitting is I just imagine that this nail is coming just very slightly down into the ground. That's even a little bit exaggerated there. We could go a little bit more level than that, more like this. And I'm just gonna take this club face and I'm gonna drive that nail through that golf ball. So obviously I could line it up a little bit more inside out if I wanna go more inside out. And I'm just focusing on driving that nail through the ball. Two good things are gonna happen with this. Number one, when I imagine doing that, I automatically get my hands in front. You would not feel very good hitting this nail into this golf ball by flipping it. You would feel like you naturally get your hands in front. A great way to even feel better on that, turn the club sideways. That gets the weight of the toe in front of the handle, and you'll naturally start to put your hands forward even more to get in a more comfortable position. So when I'm driving this nail, look how much forward my hands are. Look how my body automatically starts to rotate up. Just having that visual gets you into a lot of the positions that you want to get into. Now I'm just going to remove the nail, have the same feeling with the golf ball there, and I'm going to feel like I swing nice and smooth, rotate into the shot, and just drive that nail. I'm going to coming down and down and through, really extending through that shot. I'm not standing up and flipping at all. There we go, hit that one really, really solid too. And that's probably gonna have a little more spin off that hill also. Just barely stop one to come back a little bit.
Hey guys, Robert Rosado here, Director of Instruction at Top Speed Golf Orlando. So today I'm gonna show you, and I get a lot of questions about, is how to hit a full swing with your wedges. So there's a lot of videos, and we've done a lot of videos on wedge shots and how to have like a controlled shot, how to hit it a little bit lower, how to flight it, how to create spin, but we don't really have any videos that are just a full standard swing. And I know a lot of people out there, probably 100 yards and in, like the 100-yard stick is probably gonna be a wedge. I mean, at least mine's a 56, so I got a 56 in my hand, and I got a target out there, it's about 104, so it's pretty much a full swing for me. And that's what I'm trying to show you what we're gonna do to take a full swing. And don't be afraid to take a full swing when hitting a wedge. But I do wanna point out, when you do swing a little bit harder and have more of a full swing with a wedge, you're gonna create a little bit more spin, and it's gonna fly a little bit higher for almost everybody out there. So the one thing I wanna talk about, or the things we're gonna try to mention, is our grip, and then we're the ball position and kind of our swing. So it's pretty much a standard grip. I'm not way down on the butt end, but I'm not choking up way up on it. And then also, with our ball position, they don't want to have it too far back, way back here in our stance. Because if you have it too far, especially with this wedge, we start getting too steep on the ball. That leading edge, because it's so sharp with these wedges, is gonna come into the ball and you're gonna dig down. And I see that a ton. A lot of people want to see if they hit their sand wedge or lob wedge or whatever they have, is they can put it too far back in their stance, almost off this back foot, and they get really steep, and then they end up chunking it or thinning it. So we're gonna put it about just behind middle of our stance. Just think about a ball and a half behind the middle of our stance right here. And so that way, we're not coming so far down on it, we're gonna chunk it or thin it, but we're also it's not too far up, so we're almost like we're swinging on a driver and coming up on the ball. All right, so that's gonna be that part. And the next part about this with our wedges I don't see is a lot of people get too handsy with the swing, because they think it's a wedge, they feel like they need to set their wrists really quick, and then you can set their wrists here, kind of like the L to L that Phil does with his wedges. And that's not wrong by any means, but with this full swing wedge, we still want to get our body involved like we would a normal iron or even our driver. So again, when we take it back, I still want to see a little bit of a shoulder turn, still feeling a slight bit of width in our swing, and then we can set our wrists, again, shoulder turn into a full swing. But the biggest thing, again, is we still want to use our body as we're coming down through the shot. So as we come through, we still want to have our body rotating through. So then again, I finish onto a good finish with my belt buckle and my chest are facing the target. Again, so our ball position is slightly about a ball and a half behind middle. Our grip's gonna be pretty standard, just choking up about maybe an inch on the club. Still, again, using our body, still turn with those shoulders, still turn with your hips. Don't get too handsy with your arms with it, and then turn through the shot onto a nice good finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit one here for you. See if I can get one at that blue stick about 104 yards away. A nice smooth, full swing. And I think that's looking right out. It's looking pretty good. Yeah, I landed pretty close. All right, guys, so good luck with that. Go ahead and follow us on Instagram. We kind of just started at Top Speed Golf, and hit the link in our bio there. All right, guys, so good luck and have fun. Hey, guys, I hope you really enjoyed that video. I've got an even better video to help you out, because you know we all want to try to hit a little bit further, maybe hit a little bit better. So go ahead and click that iCard and somewhere on your screen there, and it'll take you to our website. We're going to talk about the move and talk about how to get a little bit more lag. It's also going to introduce you to that tennis racket drill that we have on there. And through there, you can have access to our 5 points of our Top Speed Golf system. And that you can have and really get some detail on the golf swing and help you give you some good drills and some good thoughts you can do to help you work it out and hit the ball really well. All right, guys, so good luck out there. Have fun and play well.
Good player problems. We're going to talk about shallowing that club shaft out as we're starting down, as we're doing this rotating of the face that we worked on in the last video. As we start this downswing, what you'll see with basically all of the top players is, instead of coming kind of over the top and letting the hands come out away from their body, letting the club come out away from their body, again coming down steep into the ball and then having to open up, kind of fillet open the face and add loft to it, the flattening of the shaft should happen as soon as we start down. So as we start this downswing, what we want to have happening here, you can imagine that if I draw a line from the hosel of my club up through my right elbow, that's my swing plane line, my elbow plane. As I go to the top of the swing, I'm going to be slightly above that. And then as I start down, I want my hands to start to shallow out. I want the club to shallow out inside of this elbow plane. And at the same time, I'm going to be rotating my hand.